Growing up, I never truly felt like I belonged in my own family. My younger brother, Daniel, was the golden child, showered with praise and attention, while I was always an afterthought. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened the day I went into labor. I got pregnant at 21. It wasn't planned, and the father bailed as soon as he found out. I was terrified but determined to face motherhood on my own. A part of me even hoped that having a baby would finally make my parents see me, care about me. I was so wrong. Around the same time I was nearing my due date, Daniel got engaged. My parents were over the moon. They threw him a lavish engagement party, completely ignoring the fact that I was about to give birth any day. The night of his party, the contractions started. The pain was unbearable, and then my water broke. Panic set in. I grabbed my phone and called my mom, my voice trembling. "Mom, it's happening. I need to go to the hospital." She sighed, sounding annoyed. "We're really busy right now. Can't you figure it out?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Please, I need help." "I can't deal with this right now," she snapped. "Call an Uber or something. We'll talk later." Then she hung up. I stood there, stunned. They weren't coming. They didn't care. Through the unbearable pain, I managed to order a ride. The driver looked terrified as I groaned in agony, barely holding on. I barely made it to the hospital, alone, and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Not one family member showed up. Lying there in that hospital bed, holding my daughter's tiny hand, I made a decision. I was done with them. The next day, I blocked their numbers. When they tried to visit, I refused to see them. I wasn't going to let them pretend to care. The consequences. 3 months passed. Then one day my mom called. Her voice was frantic. "Why is the bank freezing our account?" I smiled. "Ask your favorite child." Then I hung up. 4 years, my parents had been dipping into my trust fund, money that was supposed to be mine. They had used it for everything, including Daniel's engagement party. But when I turned 22, the fund legally became mine. With a lawyer's help, I took full control and cut them off. The silence didn't last long. A few days later, there was a knock at my door. My mom stood there, looking furious, her hair a mess, makeup free, pure rage in her eyes. "How dare you, Sophia?" she hissed. "You froze our money. Are you insane?" I let out a laugh. "Our money?" "No, Mom. My money. Money you had no right to touch." Her expression darkened. "Do you have any idea what you've done? We have bills, responsibilities." "You mean Daniel's wedding?" I cut in. "You can't pay for it anymore, can you?" She flinched but quickly recovered. "That's not the point. We're a family. Family share. You're punishing us over a misunderstanding." I stared at her in disbelief. "A misunderstanding? You abandoned me when I was in labor. You told me to figure it out while you were off playing perfect parents at his party." I took a step closer, my voice steady. "So no, I don't owe you anything." For a moment, her eyes turned cold. I thought she might slap me. But instead, she did something worse. She smiled. A slow, calculated smile. "Oh, honey," she said, her voice chillingly soft. "You have no idea what you've just started." Then she left. The lawsuit. 3 days later, I found out exactly what she meant. I was served with court papers. My parents were suing me. Their claim, that they had been using my trust fund with the belief that I was fine with it. And since they had spent money on family expenses, I had no right to cut them off. The most disgusting part, Daniel was part of the lawsuit. He had actually signed a statement arguing that since my parents raised me, I owed them. I wanted to scream. Instead, I called my lawyer. While I was preparing my defense, my mom launched a smear campaign. She spread lies to relatives, claiming I was selfish and ungrateful. Some family members called to hear my side, but most berated me, calling me cruel. The worst call was from my great-aunt Lydia. "Your parents took care of you for years," she snapped. "And this is how you repay them? They left me to give birth alone," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "They didn't care about me then, and they don't care now." She scoffed. "Oh, please. They had an event to host. You could have waited." I hung up on her without another word, fighting back. By then I was done. If my parents wanted a war, they were getting one. I wasn't that helpless little girl anymore. 4 months, I had been preparing to take control of my trust fund. I had proof, bank statements, financial records, every dollar they had stolen from me. So I did more than just defend myself. I countersued. I demanded back every cent they had taken. When my parents got the lawsuit, the panic set in. The messages started flooding in. My moms were filled with rage, calling me a monster. Then my dad finally called, sounding exhausted. "Sophia," he said, his voice heavy. "Let's be reasonable. We're your parents. You can't do this to us." I took a slow breath. "You did this to yourselves." He sighed. "Your mom's just emotional. You know how she is. She doesn't mean it." I closed my eyes. "She meant every word," I said, my voice cold. "Just like she meant it when she left me alone while I was in labor." Silence. And that silence was the clearest answer of all. His voice turned cold. "You're making a mistake." Then he hung up. A few weeks into the legal battle, my lawyer uncovered something unexpected. Another savings account in my name, one I never knew existed. Digging deeper, we found the truth. My grandparents had left me more money than I'd thought, and my parents had been secretly draining that account for years. This wasn't just a family dispute. It was theft. My lawyer wasted no time. Fraud charges were now on the table. When my parents found out, my mother completely unraveled. One night, she showed up at my apartment, pounding on the door like a madwoman. "Sophia, open this door," she screamed. I let her yell for a while before finally cracking the door open. She looked unhinged, hair wild, face pale, eyes filled with desperation. "Why are you doing this?" she hissed. "Do you want us to end up homeless? Ruined?" I met her gaze unfazed. "You stole from me, Mom. For years." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. We used that money to take care of you." I shook my head. "No. You used it to throw parties for Daniel, to go on vacations, to buy things for yourselves, not me." Her jaw tightened. "Fine. Maybe we borrowed a little here and there. But we're family. Family doesn't abandon you when you're in labor." I shot back. "Family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't sue you for taking back what's yours." Her face twisted in anger. "You always were selfish." I smiled. "And you always thought you could get away with everything." Before she could respond, I shut the door in her face. The downfall. I expected my parents to keep fighting. What I didn't expect was what Daniel did next. Turns out, his fiancée had no idea about the lawsuit. When she finally found out, she called me. "Can we talk?" she asked. We met at a coffee shop, and she wasted no time getting to the point. "Daniel told me you offered your trust fund to help pay for our wedding. That you were happy to share." I scoffed. "That's a lie." Her grip on her coffee cup tightened. "I told him, if he doesn't drop this lawsuit, the wedding is off. I'm not marrying into a family that does this." For the first time, I saw someone in my family circle with a backbone. A few days later, Daniel sent me a text. "I hope you're happy. You ruined my life." No apology. No regret. Just blame. I blocked his number. Meanwhile, my parents were drowning. The fraud case was gaining traction, Daniel's engagement was in shambles, and with their access to my money cut off, they were spiraling. Then, out of nowhere, my dad sent a text. "Let's talk. No lawyers. Just family." I knew what this was. One last desperate attempt to manipulate me. But I agreed to meet them, just to see them squirm. The final confrontation. The restaurant was fancy, my mom's choice, of course. When I walked in, they were already seated. Mom had her arms crossed, her expression furious. Dad just looked tired, worn down by it all. I sat down. "All right. Talk." Dad leaned forward. "Sophia, this has gone too far. We're family. You're tearing us apart over money." I let out a bitter laugh. "No, Dad. You tore this family apart when you left me alone to give birth. When you stole from me. When you sued me." Mom scoffed. "Oh, please. We took care of you for years. We deserve something for that." I shook my head. "You had a child. That was your responsibility. You don't get paid for doing the bare minimum as parents." She flinched but quickly recovered. "You stole from me for years. Lied to me. Then tried to destroy me for taking back what was mine." I leaned in, voice steady. "So no, you don't get to play the victims." For the first time, my dad looked ashamed. His eyes dropped, like he couldn't even face me. "But my mother..." She doubled down. We needed that money, she said sharply. Without it, we're ruined. I tilted my head. And whose fault is that? Silence. Then, in a whisper, she said, Yours. I laughed, harsh and bitter. That's rich. You really think I should feel guilty? After everything you did? She slammed her hand on the table, silverware rattling. People started to stare. I raised you, she snapped. I gave you everything. I stood up. No, Mom. You gave everything to Daniel. And now, just like always, he's left you to clean up his mess. Her face went pale, and as if on cue, Daniel walked in. He looked awful, red eyes, messy hair. His fiancée must have finally called off the wedding because he looked completely lost. But when he saw me, his expression twisted with rage. This is your fault, he spat. You ruined everything. I crossed my arms. No, Daniel. You did that all by yourself. He stormed toward me, fists clenched. You think you're some victim? You think you're better than us? No, I said calmly. But I am free. His jaw tightened. You're nothing. You were never supposed to have that money. You were never supposed to. To what? I interrupted. Stand up for myself? Take back what was mine. You're selfish, he growled. A selfish, bitter little. Enough! We all turned to my dad. For the first time, I saw something real in his face, regret. Deep, crushing regret. This isn't her fault, he said softly. It's ours. My mother snapped her head toward him. Excuse me. He sighed, rubbing his temples. We did this. We spoiled Daniel. We enabled him. We stole from our own daughter and acted like it was okay. We left her alone when she needed us the most. He turned to me, his face shattered with guilt. I'm sorry, Sophia. And that, more than anything, stunned me. My mother was furious. You're apologizing to her, she hissed. After everything? Yes, my dad said. Because she was right. The silence that followed was heavy. And in that moment, my mother understood she had lost. Moving on. The lawsuit was dropped a week later. I didn't forgive him completely, but I let the fraud charges go, under one condition. They had to pay back every cent they stole. It took years. Daniel never spoke to me again. My mother never forgave me either. She still plays the victim, telling anyone who will listen that I ruined the family. My dad tried. He sent letters, called on birthdays, but I never let him fully back in. Some wounds just don't heal. And me. I raised my daughter in peace. I built a life for us, and I never once looked back.